would be for the fire department, roughly little close to 5 acres. Then that leaves this area, which is about 12.5 to 13 acres of buildable space, and then that leaves this area right here as green space, and that's about 23 acres.
Everybody's attention. We're going to get started with this meeting. And first, the City of Seattle Finance and Administrative Services wants to thank you for coming out here, taking your time for comments and questions, and to find out more about the Myers Way properties. And we got my sound guy here making sure I'm not too loud and I'm not too low. So if you have any questions, speak up, please. This meeting is to decide what will be done with the Myers Way properties. As I was told, this is not a hearing. This is simply to get ideas from the public. And my name is Forrest Gillette. I'm the MC, and according to the MC code, I don't say much, I just introduce people. And so what I'd like to do is start off by introducing the City of Seattle attendees. From the Department of Neighborhoods, we have Carrie Wade. Carrie Wade's outside. Okay. And from Finance and Administrative Services, affectionately known as FAS, we have Mike Ashbrook. And we have Hillary Hamilton. See, that's what we want to hear. Bill Craven. And Daniel Bretsky. Daniel's way in the back waving his hand. From Seattle Public Utilities, we have John Ovitt. And from Seattle Fire Department, we have firefighter Colin McElroy.
Good evening.
Doesn't that sound cool? Firefighter Colin McElroy. And is Doug Colbert here? Doug, there he is. Okay. Are there any city council members in attendance today? Nope. Okay, let's move right along. Up next, we're going to speak with Hillary Hamilton, and she'll discuss the process of excess property and how the city deals with it.
Thanks, Forrest. I have to get used to holding the mic, so if I start moving it around and you can't either hear or I start essing, let me know. So welcome. Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm Hillary Hamilton. I work in the Real Estate Services section of FAS, Finance and Administrative Services. What our group in FAS does, and the reason that we're here tonight, well, two reasons. First of all, we're the department that has responsibility for the property. We are landlord to the fire department, and we also have responsibility for the undeveloped area to the south. So that's one of our hats we're wearing today. Secondly, we have the responsibility to manage a process that was adopted by the City Council, updated in 2006 actually, to add more citizen participation to the process of looking at the vacant lands and trying to come to the best decision for the city. The council adopted these procedures to hear from the public and to make sure that a lot of different aspects were evaluated before they make a decision. One of the important things I want to let you know is where we are in the process. We're about halfway through. So this public meeting is something that we're looking at as information exchange. It's not a public hearing. The normal time for an actual public hearing is a lot closer to when the council will be studying legislation. And we anticipate that's going to be probably September. So our goal tonight is really to, for the city to share information, and also several different speakers. If you have a copy of the agenda, you can see that we've got folks from TREPAC and the Seattle Green Space Coalition, somebody that's representing potential commercial developer. Colin will talk about fire and how they use the site and more. So, like I said, it's not a public hearing. We won't be able to take comments from everybody, but there are comment sheets available. If you want to fill it out tonight, you can leave it in an envelope at the back of the room. And if you want to mail it, the email address, if you want to scan it and email it to us, or Daniel's email is up here. He's collecting the comments. Just a quick little background about the property. The city purchased the property in 2003 with the intention of building the facility that we're in and the surrounding training facilities. So you may know, but there's a practice tower, there's a practice overpass, and several other kinds of training props, and Colin will talk more about that. When we purchased it, Nintendo was the seller, and they said, you have to buy all of it or none of it. You can't just buy the 10 acres that you want. So the city thought about it really hard and decided this was the best site we had found, and we went ahead and purchased the entire 50 acres. At that point, in 2003, the council specifically said that it would sell the remainder of the property with the goal of creating job development throughout the nearby communities. Our department took that into effect in 2005. The council passed a second ordinance that authorized us to negotiate with Lowe's Hardware. And they were interested in putting a Lowe's store here that would bring jobs and also be another hardware store. That deal didn't go through. And then we had a recession. And since that time, our department's been studying the site. We've got a lot of better information about the environmental condition, about the wetlands and where they're located. We've closed out the old mining permit. So we've done a lot of work. And I think I'll, in the interest of moving on, I will just save time and go on to our next speaker. That'll allow more time for questions later.
And up next, we have firefighter Colin McElroy, who will discuss the needs of the fire department. Colin?
Thank you. Just gotta hold it up, huh? Good evening. Can you guys hear me? All right. My name's Colin McElroy. I work for the city of Seattle, the fire department. I understand we have some residents from Arrowhead Gardens. Is that right? Our neighbors to the north, hello. You guys don't know this, but you actually do know me, because when you guys' alarm bell goes off at 3 in the morning and it doesn't get shut off, I'm that guy. All right. So, I've been asked to speak on the fire department's behalf about what goes on here at the Joint Training Facility. It's a collaborative effort between SPU and the fire department to have a central location that we can all do some of our training at. When I first came in, my training area was at old Station 14's, was the old training station, and it was basically the size of this room. So now we have this giant facility where we get to take all of our toys out and throw our ladders and bring our hose out to practice our trade. Over the years, the JTF has drastically improved a lot of activities, whether it's SPU's apprenticeship program, or it's our in-house firefighter training, or even some regional training that we conduct here on the site as well, some of our structural collapse training. And so my main job is to be a fireman at Station 14 in Soto, but I moonlight here as my third home, doing a lot of training for not just Seattle firefighters, but actual class where we put on, where it's called the structural collapse training, and it's training firefighters from all around the county, as far as going all the way down to Tacoma and south to Pierce County, all the way up to Marysville. So our goal is to train firefighters all around the region with federally grants that will help us prepare to actually help you guys if there's an actual emergency. The emergency being most likely an earthquake. So we train very hard to try and how do we operate in confined spaces, how do we use the tools that are new to us and actually work together so that if something does happen, we have a cadre of individuals who've been through training where we can rely on them to actually help you guys if there is ever an event like that. So, how does this play into the property across the street? Well, our footprint is getting smaller and smaller as far as our real estate on the JTF site, where we have, as you guys, who's heard up the backup alarms? Have you guys heard the backup alarms from all those engines backing up, beep, beep, beep? Yep, we do driver's training there, and I've replaced those alarms, by the way. They're much quieter now, I will say that. So we have that going on. We also have in-house training with our OSET, basically our operational training, where we teach guys how to do basic firefighting skills. We have, like I said, our SCT class. And we're finding that it's becoming very, very crowded here at the JTF, and we're looking for some new real estate to be able to expand some of our operations. Some of those operations you might be interested in are some of our noisier operations. So what we'd like to propose is moving some of our louder and dirtier operations kind of towards the south end of the site, away from residences like yourself who live at Arrowhead Gardens. Have some more additional parking of places that we can actually put some of our private vehicles so we don't have to take up space in front of Arrowhead Gardens. And someplace where we can actually have an opportunity to kind of expand some of our training areas so that we don't take up valuable real estate for other events that happen here at the JTF. In addition to training, what we'd like to do is keep some of our props that we have. So I don't know if you guys have gotten a site or gotten a tour of the actual site here, but we have a lot of pieces for building collapsed buildings, which come up with concrete and steel. And we basically keep them here on site until we do these classes every year. And in the meantime, they're taking up valuable real estate. And we would like to propose is that we actually use some of the 5 acres that's been identified for the fire department to store some of those materials as well as conduct training, have some parking, and move some of our other louder and more disruptive activities farther away from Yukon residents who live to the north. So that's what we'd like to do, and we'd encourage that we could get some support in actually being able to utilize some of that property to move some of our, and expand some of our operations a little farther south. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Colin McElroy of the Seattle Fire Department. We're now going to take a look at our other speakers. They'll each get 4 minutes to speak. And just a couple of house rules here. There will be a question and answer period after the break where we can enjoy more of the food and water in the back. But until then, we ask you hold your questions, write them down if you get a good question or comment that could be used later on. But give them the 4 minutes, and also if there's a need for Vietnamese, Somali, or Spanish translation interpretation, we do have our interpreters. They are, raise our hands. Okay, there they go. With that, we're going to now talk to Alan Robertson, NAI Puget Sound Properties.
Hi, I'm Al Robertson. I've been a resident in Seattle since 1980 and involved in the industrial market, South End in particular, since 1986. So I'm just going to kind of hit the highlights from our perspective. Oh, I have such a deep voice, though. Okay, so as we all know, Seattle's continued economic growth and the pressures that's come with it relevant to additional population is creating issues relevant to our affordable housing. I'm hitting on this just to kind of hit something real quickly, because there's been discussion about this site being utilized for housing purposes, and the evaluations that we have done, the Greenbrier site just up the street, literally a stone's throw, has 36 acres of undeveloped site currently now that is designated for affordable housing, which is great. It's a great project, and I think it will have continued success in that. Oh, I'm sorry. And then you also have the High Point project, that community project that's not too far from here as well, that has additional, just a little less than 7 acres of additional affordable housing land for development as well. An issue that is rarely discussed through this new pressure of this economic growth that is predominantly high-tech, biotech oriented, is that the Seattle-based industrial users are being forced to relocate out of the Seattle area. Seattle has a rich industrial history, and It's a great transition to go to these uses, but this particular site, which is zoned for industrial applications and light manufacturing uses, is one of the few sites that exist today that can support continued employment opportunities here in Seattle. The Meyerway site as well, in its unique character, has the ability to hit multiple goals for everybody here. The total site is about 38 acres, which does not include the joint training facility here. It's everything to the south and to the east of Myers Way. Parcel B, which is immediately to the south, is 21 acres total, which includes the utility easement, the hillside, and out of that, the total development area is about 17.5 acres. As you include the utility easement with Parcel C and Parcel D, if my memory serves, that totals about 21 acres of total area. The intent of a commercial application would be to share the 17.5 acres with the joint training facility. So joint training facility would take 5 acres. The balance of that, about 12.5 acres of usable area, which is predominantly the flat area out there that was the gravel pit up until 1990, could house multiple types of industrial applications. It could be light manufacturing, aerospace, distribution, and the probability of job employment would be in the range of 100 to 300 job opportunities for the community here in West Seattle and White Center. The balance of the area is a great opportunity. The 21 acres, which is the utility easement, the area just to the southwest of Parcel B, and then also the area to the east of Myers Way, which is highly canopied with trees, as is the southwest and the hillside, offers a great opportunity for the city to create a park environment and allow for wetland enhancement, which actually can benefit from the commercial development as well, because the wetland areas can be recharged to a higher extent enhanced through the stormwater being redirected to charge those wetlands even further. Thank you for your time.
Again, that was Alan Robertson from NAI Puget Sound Properties. Thank you, Alan. Up next, we have Cass Turnbull from Tree Pack. Yay!
According to the agenda, I was going to come last, but this is okay. It's great to see so many people coming out here. Is this on? Put it close to your mouth. Is it on? Hello? Hello? History of Myers Parcels, and one is John Beal. When the joint training facility was being developed, there was a fellow who's kind of a local environmental hero who was working his way up the Ham Creek watershed, restoring a really polluted, horrible stream. He was also a local hero for cleaning up the Duwamish. And he was headed up here and he ran into Myers Parcels, where they were building the joint training facility. And he knew that that would create water pollution for Ham Creek, and that wasn't good. So that he engaged in a sort of a battle to the death with the city of Seattle. Seattle was developing the parcels and was fined several $1,000s for filling in a wetland. It proceeded anyway, the building of the joint training facility, and I believe, if I have my facts right, that he warned them that the way they were going to manage the stormwater was going to be insufficient, and they proceeded anyway, and sure enough, during the next big storm, it washed out the restoration work that he had. So I'm not that convinced that new development on the remaining part will not damage the wetlands, and I sort of wonder about the part about how it was going to help them by funneling all the water from all the concrete into the Duwamish, but maybe there's a way. This is this is what the land looks like now. If you're along the street, it doesn't look like much, but if you get inside far enough, it's like being in a country road with trees all the way around you and the songs of birds, and you can hear the chorus frogs and the crickets. And that's the view from above and the view also from above. And the parts that would be developed are right in the middle of it. And this is what 13 acres worth of warehouses looks like. And people see Myers Parcels and they think that there's nothing there, but it's really the absence of what could be there. Right now, Myers isn't contributing to the pollution of the Duwamish. It isn't contributing to air pollution. It is acting as a filter for air pollution. It is a buffer between all the residential areas and the industrial areas, whereas if it gets developed, it'll just nudge right up to all those houses and all those low-income housing, and you'll have a lot of diesel trucks and who knows what else. So I don't think of it as something that doesn't have value, that the only value is in developing it. I don't know. Firemen do good work, and they got a beautiful facility here. It costs $33 million, and now they want to get some more stuff, and that's nice. But I think some people would also like some more environmentally responsible stuff. I think if we take the heart out of it by developing it, there would be no chance to have it as an environmental learning center, which would help with green jobs, training people and maybe putting some summer youth to work with the environmental restoration. I think a lot of the industry has been located in this part of town. It wouldn't be a question if this was up in Laurelhurst, whether we were going to have warehouses or light industry. What else? The city says it needs to have a buyer, it has to sell it, and that's not true. The FAS can continue to keep the land for the municipal purposes of the health and betterment of the local population and the environmental good. So nobody has to buy it. It could be kept on hold. There is a feeling, there's you're kind of told that the public has to come up with the money to buy it. We could keep it as it is until such time as Parks does decide it would like some new property. And 100 years from now, are we going to look back and say, boy, I sure am glad we got those warehouses? Or are we going to say, so that's all I had to say.
All right, and that was Cass Turnbull from Tree Pack. Thank you, Cass. Up next, we have Mary Fleck from Seattle Green Spaces Coalition.
Thanks. I've got a PowerPoint. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be really exciting. And it has music. Who is here from Delridge? About 4 or 5 people. Who is here from Top Hat? 1, 2. Whoa, Top Hat. Who's never heard of Top Hat? Meet your neighbors. Could I have a little remote thing? Let's see, who's here from Highland Park? Yeah. Oh, thanks. Who's here from Greenbridge? This breaks my heart. White Center. All right, thank you. Seattle Green Spaces Coalition. Who did I miss? South Park. Who else did I miss? West Seattle. Anybody else? Yes. Ballard. Mount Baker. Burien. Normandy Park. All right, this is not just a West Seattle issue, is it? This is all of Seattle. And Seattle Green Spaces Coalition is reaching out to groups throughout Seattle to engage them to get involved so that we don't hear just a top-down decision-making on this land. It's really too important for that. So we are asking for 4 principles to be followed by the city. That it follows through on the equity and environment agenda with whatever it does. That we promote green jobs and public health with this land. That the health of the Ham Creek watershed is promoted and enhanced. But most of all, we would like a meaningful engagement process. Okay, and that means people don't come up and stand here and talk to us, but the community participates and decides in what's going to happen next, because this land is very valuable. Okay. This is not just an empty old gravel pit. How many people have actually walked through the site? How many people want to walk through the site? Okay. On your way out, sign the sign-up sheet, because there was a tour today, and if you didn't hear about it, you want to go on the next one. The land is very valuable because it actually has a dollar value. Our clean air keeps us healthy. Respiratory problems, how many people at Arrow Bridge know somebody who's carrying around an oxygen container behind them? Okay? Asthma in White Center, asthma in South Park. This can actually save us money if we keep the trees, making it clean for us. So there's a dollar value in keeping things green. Trees, we know, make us healthier. Has anybody noticed that layer of smog that we start to see in Seattle in the summer? It did not used to be here when I moved here 20 years ago. Oxygen and trees have a vital function for our ecosystem, part of the web of life, and we have to respect that part of the web of life. Ham Creek. Has anybody actually seen the wetland? Yes, 1 person in the back. It's beautiful. 3 people, 4 people. We have water that flows through this site and goes into the Duwamish. And the Duwamish River is a Superfund site. Are we proud of that? I would like us to be proud of cleaning it up and keeping Ham Creek clean. It goes through these lands here. Green jobs are a great possibility, and that includes internships for our youth. I challenge the city to engage in real ways we can come up as a community with the right responses. A few months ago, our mayor came up with the equity and environment agenda, and he made this promise, self-determination, and that the actual communities are involved in what happens. So I challenge the mayor, and I challenge his offices to actually have real engagement on that. Who is not here tonight? It is very dismaying that we do not have people from Greenbridge here because they're the closest neighbors to the west. How much public input does the city actually need? Over 1,600 people have signed a petition asking for the sale to stop. How much input do we need? And that's a question I'd like to have answered during the question and answer period. What do you see when you see this land? So get involved. There's many things to do. We have a survey, and we also have a slip of paper with the council addresses on there. Does anybody have one of those slips of paper? Yep, they're available outside. Thank you.
And again, that was Mary Fleck with Seattle Green Spaces Coalition. Up next, we have the White Center Development Association's Marie Pino. Is it Pino or Pino? Pino. Okay, want to make sure of that.
Sure, let's see if we can do this. All right, that works. So I guess one of the first things I'll answer is, what is the White Center Community Development Association? Well, we're a nonprofit located in White Center, which is a community adjacent to Seattle. And we engage in programs in 3 lines of work: family development, community building, and neighborhood revitalization. And our primary concern in all of those lines of work is lifting the voices of people who live here and doing that in an equitable way. And so what that means is we recognize that there's certain voices that have been historically and continue to be marginalized. And in White Center, that means a lot of folks who don't speak English as a first language, a lot of low-income renters in housing in the area, et cetera. And I think we are missing some of those voices here tonight for sure. So when we also underlie all of our work with community-generated data, such as through a neighborhood-wide community survey that we've done. So when Seattle Green Spaces Coalition approached us about the sale, at first we were a little skeptical. We said, oh, what do we have in common with a group of environmentalists? But we were also really grateful. There were 33 acres adjacent to White Center, really about to be transformed, and the great majority of White Center residents had no idea about it and had no feasible way to really get involved. So when we signed on to the Green Spaces letters regarding the sale of the land, we're absolutely pro-environment, definitely. But more than being pro-park specifically or anti-trucks, we really think that Green Spaces Coalition and the CDA emphasizes the need to halt the sale, for the city to take a leadership role in engaging the community and envisioning around the possibilities for the land, or the money from the sale, or both, and do this in a way that's consistent with their race and social justice initiatives. So that means ensuring that no communities go unheard or marginalized in the process. So I think as Mary pointed out, there's no need to pit environmental equity against economic development. 21st century folks, one of the most forward-thinking cities in the nation, definitely a lot of options there. Normally, we don't get a lot of say because most land is privately owned, but if this is indeed the largest tract of undeveloped land that the city owns, the possibilities for the impact of the city taking a more innovative role, I think is huge. And I'll say flat out that I think the current recommendations from FAS for the parcel, they really don't achieve the end of creating green jobs and employment, looking towards a future where there's opportunities that are sustainable. Not to mention, there's zero provisions for local hire, ensuring that underemployed White Center residents are going to benefit from any employment opportunities, whether from the trucking operations or from a zip line was another proposed recommendation. And there's no recommendations, never mind assurances, that the majority of the money from the sale will go back into the communities that are most affected here, which are low-income residents in Eastern White Center and South Park. Certainly, we're glad that some of the money is going towards homelessness initiatives elsewhere, which is impacting the whole city at large. But what about the other millions of dollars at stake from the sale? Where's that going to go? Anyway, it's no surprise that the recommendations don't reflect these concerns. I can assure you that it maybe is potentially intentional that the vast majority of our residents haven't heard about the sale, and that there's wasn't multiple languages in the notices. And the city wants the land, it seems, to go to the highest bidder and to place minimal constraints on the buyer. And we see time and time again, it's not necessarily what's best for people who are most heavily impacted.
And that was Marie Pino of the White Center Development Association. Up next is Celie Savusa. I want to make sure I said that right. Not only with the White Center Development Association, but a resident.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So I'm the executive director at the White Center CDA, and Marie has been working with Green Spaces, and Tony Vo, as you know, we signed a letter on behalf of this process. And I just want to say I was born and raised in Seattle, And actually, I grew up was born, when I was little, we were in the central area. And fast forward to today, seeing families and communities of color being pushed further and further south because of projects like this. And, I just want to be really transparent. One of the reasons that I'm here as a resident is that there are 70 languages or so that are spoken in White Center and South Park. This is a constant struggle around how do we lift community voice into projects like this that many communities would embrace and understand. We just need to do something really simple. Ask families what they think. And more often than not, communities of color have been engaged or involved really in a conditional way, not in a real meaningful way, as Cass had talked about. We want to be part of this. And when we were approached by Green Spaces, one of the first things that came to my mind was the conversation with the Duwamish tribe. And that this is Duwamish land that we stand on. And how much have we thought in how much has been given to the needs of the Duwamish tribe and the Longhouse and how that all intersects. For me, it's not just about White Center and South Park. This region that we're really trying to hold on to the diversity of community that lives here, currently exists here in White Center. We want to figure out how our business district, which I refer to as the other international district, how do we help to continue those businesses to continue to thrive and be part of this community? The only way that we can do this if the city and local government is willing to have the conversation to help elevate our voices, but to let us be part of the solution. I believe, the strength really lies in the community and the knowledge that is needed for projects like this that are very complex and is far-reaching. Unless the community's voices are involved, it's meaningless, and we continue to marginalize our communities. So I'm just thankful for this opportunity. I live in White Center. I actually live right in Top Hat. We moved to this community 20 years ago, and it was interesting to hear which residents got the notices. I didn't. And I was asking folks, did you get the notices from the city? And so, this is a broken record. Translation, interpretation. When we have a meeting in White Center, when the CDA hosts it, it's like a UN meeting. And I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm just saying it's the people that live here that we really want to hear from. So I really urge the city to utilize its race and social justice frame to really do this work in the right way and embrace the voices of the community, the collective community, to make sure that it's a win-win for everybody. Thank you.
And that was Celie Savusa of the White Center Development Association. Thank you. It's break time now, and we're going to break for, okay. Yippee. Okay. It's break time now. We're going to break for about 10 minutes. It's 7:16, so let's be back at 7:26, and then we'll have our question and answer period. See you later.
Come up and speak because we're the two Seattle neighborhoods that are attached to Myers Way parcel, and neither groups were asked to speak at this meeting. And as the two neighborhoods that are directly attached, who are part of the city of Seattle currently, we are very happy to see that White Center was asked to be here because the letter that we sent to the city and to FAS was to hold the sale of this land until the annexation talks were done, because the majority of the neighbors that live here are not actually part of the city of Seattle. Right. The other piece is that for Highland Park, we don't feel like the environmental scan was done in a way that really looks at what is going to happen to the Duwamish River with that cleanup. And we'd like to see an outside agency brought in to do that environmental scan before it moves forward. And I would also request, as meetings go forward, that the neighborhoods that are next door to whatever piece of land you're speaking to, that those neighborhood committees, which work very hard as all volunteers, get asked if they would like to have public input. And notice. Yeah, we didn't get any notice either. So that's all I wanted to say. I know you're on a break. Thank you. Eat more cookies.
I'm Laura Suggs from the South Park Neighborhood Association, and I hadn't planned on speaking here, and I don't have anything super eloquent to say. I think it's been said by the people who have spoken before me tonight. I agree that we need community input and we need some equity in this issue. I've been aware of the parcels since the John Beal deal and the building of this facility and the controversy around that, so I hope that we can do a better job reaching out to community before something happens to this that isn't cool. Thank you.
Hello, just real quick, since we kind of opened it up here for some more speaking, there might be another person who would want to speak. Oh, here we go.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Dee. I am a resident of the non-named Boulevard Park, the small nexus of Seattle. That's the most southern part. I guess I'm the only one representative here. So basically, I'm here as a potential buyer of the land, prospectively. I'm here as a potential business in the sense of addressing everyone's concerns. I spent over the past week looking over the 109 comments that was made for this particular type of property, and all of the concerns addressed. And I believe that my business can address every single one of them, and I can tell you why. Unfortunately, I have a presentation, but we don't have the time, so I'll just let you know that I do have pamphlets that will basically give the same information that I will give you, but more pretty pictures. So basically, I represent my business, Arc Eden. We are a green cemetery that basically focuses on land stewardship. We do not look at land expansion. We look at vertical burials, and basically we take the cremated remains of people and we use incineration via water, not fire, in producing carbon monoxide. We don't produce any pollutant. The only pollutant that we will produce is non-potable water, which will go back into the watershed and recharge it. Not only that, it will provide a green space for children to have access to, as well as a green space for continued visitation. So basically, not only will this be great for the environment, but it will produce green jobs. Now, prospectively, we see that within the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to have an influx of baby boomers who will be right at the, yeah, we all know, I'm not going to remind you, but I will let you know that there will be a lot of you, and unfortunately, unfortunately, there's only going to be a third of the services provided for you during that time. And market says when there's less people that are going to be providing those services and more of you, the cost is going to go up. So as Arc Eden, we are going to be there to not only provide a complex way that represents your complex life, but a way that represents the lifestyle as well as the benefit for the environment as well as the children that are going to be left behind. So we do not believe in the fact that we should further pollute the environment, but we should make it better than what we first arrived here on the earth. So if you have any questions, please see me. I'm in blue. I have business cards and pamphlets to further let you know, but that's here. So I'm speaking from in between the buyer side as well as the environmental side as the go-between. So thank you.
Once again, we probably have 4 minutes for one other speaker if they want to take this time.
I can make it 2.
Okay. There you go.
First of all, I want to apologize. I've got a bit of stage fright. I don't do this a lot. North Highline Unincorporated Area Committee was one of the folks that wasn't asked to speak, so I've essentially done something on the back of a napkin, and I'm going to speak really fast. So, in the build-up to this meeting, there was a quote, "We should make decisions here based not on the good of each neighborhood, but of Seattle as a whole." I agree. And I've been thinking about some other neighborhoods that I'm sure would be happy to make a contribution. For instance, Volunteer Park. That water tower is doing no one no good. The Arboretum. That land is just lying fallow, waiting for just the right warehouse. Cal Anderson Park. Think of all the parking spaces that could be sited in there without that wasteful green area. In each of these cases, Seattle has weighed the value of green space versus the value of commercial development. In each case, green space won. What's the difference? What's the difference between our neighborhood and these neighborhoods? Why is green space important there but not here? Follow the money. We are not powerful. We are not loud. We are the working poor, the proud middle class. But in the past, urban planning pioneers and visionaries like Frederick Law Olmsted have made it a priority to site green spaces in underserved neighborhoods. I ask the City of Seattle to support that process, to think of the overall well-being of Seattle as including us. Thank you.
And I think the city of Seattle and the people of Seattle thank everybody who's made their comments and asked their questions. So a round of applause for everybody, please. Thank you. All right, now is the time for question and answers. So for the people who were speaking earlier, if you have a question, unfortunately, we only have one microphone. So yell it loud, yell it proud, and then we'll have the speaker or speakers that you wanted to hear come up to the podium and ask the question. Is that fair? All right. I saw this hand over here in blue, then I see a hand in white, so we'll go in that order. Yes, madam.
Robertson, when you stood up and identified yourself, you did not tell us what NIA stands for.
No, I don't even know what it necessarily stands for.
Well, that's what you represent.
That's like, it's an association, but you could probably look it up and figure it out. I don't know. I've only been there for 1 year. I've been doing this for 30 years.
Okay. All right, well, everybody, a couple of ground rules here. Whether he knows what NAI stands for or not, he answered the question. Well, would you like to come up here, Alan, and use the microphone? And thank you for that question. Here you go. Sure.
I am a real estate consultant, and I am a real estate consultant, and NAI is North American Industrial or something of that nature, and then it's Puget Sound Properties. It's an affiliation. It has nothing to do with me particular, other than the fact that that's where I go to work. So, anyone, while I'm here, does anyone else have any other questions? I can address the one question somebody said that sending the water was not appropriate going to the wetland. There's two different types of waters that come off an industrial site. There's the roof water that comes off the site that is as clean as day, and that would be directed to the wetlands to recharge the wetlands. Did everybody hear that? Okay. And then relevant to this, the actual stormwater that comes off of the pavement, it goes through a treatment process that is required per code before it's discharged to the stormwater system. And nothing that would be built on that site, including for the joint training facility, would be built to the same standards, to the same codes. And just to kind of clarify things, we're talking about a portion of the site. This isn't an all or nothing scenario. That's what's unique about this, is roughly 60% of the total site should be and would be utilized for the majority of the purposes that everybody wants it to be utilized for here. And that's the benefit. So it's not a all lose, all win scenario. Anyhow, there you go.
About parking.
Parking, well, parking for
For these industrial
That's all part and parcel to the 17.5 acres. So it'd all be on that particular site. There wouldn't be any infringement on the balance of the property. So you have the utility easement, and then you also have the area just to the south and southwest of that. Then you have the area to the east.
Do you live near light manufacturing or a warehouse? Is that next door to you?
I live in probably one of the noisiest places here in Seattle. I live right now about a half a block away from the BN yard in between Magnolia and Queen Anne, and it's loud and the house shakes. So yes, I do know what it is to live by an industrial area. So,
Like living near an industrial area?
you know, you actually kind of get used to it. But you know, it's no different than the people who live down in Georgetown. They enjoy living in the environment that they live in. You know, you make the best out of the situation where you are. And secondly, what's unique about this is that it is already buffered due to elevation change, and it is buffered to the residential areas to the south and to the west. So I mean, it's zoned that way for a reason. But anyhow. Okay, there you go.
Thank you. And everybody, just a couple of house rules here. We have a half hour, so we can't ask multiple questions, okay? If you have questions and you don't get a chance to ask them, put them on the comment cards and the question cards. Everything will be put online as quickly as possible. There's a young lady in white with glasses who was second to raise her hand.
Yeah, first of all, I'm Paul Eckerman, the Executive Director of Citizens for Off-Leash Areas. We stand with Seattle Green Spaces Coalition on this issue.
Slow down.
My
Can you please slow down so she can hear?
Sorry, I'm very fast. So my question is for the Finance and Administrative Services. So we've seen all the numbers for selling the land, but I want to know if you've done a cost-benefit analysis or an opportunity cost of what it will cost us to lose this green space in this area.
To answer your question directly, at this time, no, we have not done a cost-benefit analysis or an opportunity cost. Our initial recommendation related to the historical direction of the council. They have over $6 million that they borrowed against the land. The bulk of that money relates to the homeless program that they funded. And so they have a goal to get that money back. That can be accomplished by selling the commercial area that Al Robertson was talking about. That's where the bulk of the value is, and still save over 20 acres of trees. That cost-benefit analysis is something that could be done after we come back with more feedback.
All right, there's a young lady in the middle of the room with her left hand up in the air. Yes.
My name is Christina Gallegos. I'm a resident of Top Hat. I've lived here for 10 years. I'm a retired employee from the city of Seattle. I used to work for the Seattle Parks Department. I was a volunteer coordinator and a naturalistic camp volunteer department. My question is directed to John Ovid from SPU. And can you tell us what your job responsibility is with SPU?
Well, I am a, I should stand up. Oh. I am a facilities strategic planner working in the facilities division. I am basically here representing SPU's interest in just the training facility itself, nothing else.
Not in the drainage or the wetlands or the water that runs off of Greenbridge down into the Duwamish. That's not your responsibility?
No, only the use of this facility for our staff for training and excavation.
Whose responsibility is it when the water runs off of the upper hill into what used to be Ham Creek and goes into the Duwamish River, which we all know is a Superfund polluted site? Whose responsibility is that?
I don't know offhand. I don't know if it's something connected to our utility or something connected to parks or to...
Ma'am, we're going to have to stop it. It's one question. I'm sorry, because there are other people that have questions. I'm very sympathetic, ma'am, but we have other people who have other questions, and we do have to move on. I'm sorry.
I'm listening to the wetland.
Okay, everybody, is there another question? We do have to move on to be fair. Sir? man. We respect your wishes, but we have to go on now. Sir, got a question?
Hi, I'm Mark Westerman. I'm with the Seattle Green Spaces Coalition. This is my circus voice, MC voice. At the end of November, the City Council unanimously approved a statement of legislative intent directing FAS to come up with a scope of work to do a complete green infrastructure analysis of the city. That is to value the natural capital of the city, price it, and roll it into the city's asset portfolio to make the city worth up to $1 billion or $1.5 billion extra dollars a year. The due date for delivering that scope is today. I'm curious about where the FAS is in delivering that scope.
The scope of the response to the SLI, or Statement of Legislative Intent, that the City Council sent to FAS was due today. It was submitted today to the City Council late in the afternoon, and as of tomorrow morning, I'm sure we'll be able to share it with you.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is also for FAS. My name is Willow Fulton. I'm one of the few residents that lives close enough to have received the notice for this meeting in the Top Hat area. And my question is about what is the plan for managing this property until somebody decides something to do with it? Because the property that your department owns has some current issues that are very concerning to the people that live close by it and would like to walk past it to get to the bus, for instance, but don't feel safe in doing so.
We understand your concerns. I'll give it a try, and if Mike Ashbrook wants to chime in, I'll invite him to. We do have a person whose job it is to come to the site at least weekly, if not more. They work very closely with one particular police officer and try to keep the homeless element, homeless folks under control. We know there are issues. It's a tough situation because if we direct them off of our property, they move over to state of Washington property. They come down and they move on back to ours. We've put up fences and they'll cut through them. So there are tough issues, and overall I think the city's stepped up trying to be more responsive, but we understand that it's a tough situation.
So is there a plan? That's the question. What is the plan for managing it? Mike, try to explain it.
As Hillary said, it's kind of a complex issue, as we're FAS, and part of FAS, we're a department within the city. So we work within the city's coordinated effort for dealing with encampments and other, people that are sleeping in unsheltered areas. So our response is coordinated with them. So as you know, there's encampments throughout the city that the city is trying to work up and try to do. So in response to that, we are on a list of priorities that we go through and clean up. And so with Myers Way, like Hillary said, we have a person that we've dedicated that goes out weekly to monitor the site. They try to, if they see a hole or a break in the fence, repair the fence. About 2 years ago, we installed that fence. It doesn't get done as quick as it can be because there are so many areas in the area that have priority over this site. No, we're continuing to work with it and we'll continue to do it, and that's one of the struggles we have with having such a large vacant area.
All right, is there a Fred Miller in the house? Okay, Fred?
Yeah, I've been a resident here for over 30 years, living right up the hill. And during a recent tour with the news network, one of our neighbors was told by the Seattle police that a lot of the homeless were directed here. Now, it's one of the things that I'm thinking about with making this into a park.
I don't exactly trust the stewardship of the city of Seattle because they tend to push their problems to the outlying areas. It's one of the reasons why Seattle has a hard time getting annexation to the south from us. So it's something to think about, and any efforts to make this into a park needs to really be thought out well and encourage security along with the package.
Right in the front, sir, with the hat and the glasses.
So I just wanted to put this issue in context with the city's comprehensive plan draft that's currently under consideration by the city council. So about 5 years ago, the city council revised the comp plan. And at that time, the comp plan said that the city will have an increase in open space of 1% per year. And they decided that that was not achievable and not measurable, since 1% of the total city acreage is not able to be measured very accurately. So they changed it to there will be no net loss of tree canopy area. So I saw you, Hillary, on TV. You said that you're going to have some environmental values, and I just don't see where a clear cut is environmental values. So that was kind of a weak point in your TV interview the other day. But the Parks Department has recently said in May that the big leaf maple trees are dying, and I don't agree with that. The real estate person here said that this project won't adversely affect the waterways, and I don't believe that because they said the same exact thing before you got the $4 million fine for affecting the waterways. So why should we believe you now?
Let me deal with the tree question first. I think if you have the map that we published and had available, and it's on the website if you didn't get one, the color map, most of them are colored. The large area in blue to the east of Myers Way and the area to the south of our property, on our property, south of the city light transmission line, are where the bulk of the tree canopy is. And we're proposing that those be preserved as open space. It could be through a land trust. It could be through the park department. They are ready and willing to take the land, the 23 acres or so, if that's what the city wants to do. But that is the recommendation at this point in time, is to save the tree canopy pretty much in perpetuity. Through the stewardship. I am not a water expert. We know that mistakes were made. We know there were fines. The city did create a new wetland along the Duwamish that's fairly substantial. We have a firm on board to take care of the wetland that's located pretty close to this building. I can understand that there might be some concern about trust. We have had our wetlands on the vacant land studied. We have shared that with the Army Corps of Engineers, and they have told us which wetlands they are especially interested in, and they have told us that the other ones will be the responsibility of the city planning department or permitting department as any proposal comes to bear. Lady in the back, and then the gentleman standing up.
Just two quick comments and then a question. One, I'm from Queen Anne, and I want everybody to know that the retention of this property is of interest to the entire city. And secondly, if any of you want to contact the council and feel overwhelmed by this, use one email address, council@seattle.gov. That's all you need. Council@seattle.gov. It'll go to all council members. But my question is, what exactly are the future opportunities for public participation? What is the plan for this? What are the upcoming meetings? How can we stay involved? What do you have planned before the city council public hearing?
Absolutely, yep. Our goal over the next month or so is to try to meet with a number of small community groups and organizations. If you would like us to come to your community group, please let us know. We'll do our best to find a time that works for you and us. I think what we'll do now is we encourage you again, fill out comment cards. Please let us know what you feel, what you're concerned about, and if we need to set up another large public meeting, we could certainly do that. I think the whole conversation about community visioning is something that we can share. Carrie Wade is here, as you know, from the Department of Neighborhoods, and I think they'll have a lot of good ideas about a strategy moving forward.
Will you notify everybody that signed in tonight?
If you signed in and we have a way to reach you, preferably email, we will contact you. How about the lady in the blue here? And then over there. Oh, sorry, I forgot this gentleman here. Can he go first, please? I call him out.
So my first question has to deal with the fact that why is the city of Seattle prioritizing industrial development over housing development and programs that would help permanently eliminate homelessness problems by literally taking them off the streets? Why wouldn't we develop government-owned housing in which a one-time sale becomes an overtime investment on pulling these people off the streets and giving them a place to stay, giving them a place to sleep other than on the streets, letting people walk by and not feel threatened by that. And then also that contributes to the community because you are lifting these people up. You're no longer just leaving them to be there on the street or marginalizing them and pushing them out of your city. You're including them, and it makes them feel like part of the city. So why is industrial prioritized over the people?
I think that's a really great question. It's probably about the first time that affordable housing has come up tonight, so thank you for that. One of the things that we did early on was we went to different city departments and we asked them if they could potentially use the property because the city has a lot of missions to accomplish. Our Office of Housing looked really carefully at this piece of property. One of the issues on this property is that, it's a lot of acreage. If you just, for example, took the center of the site that's flat and the most suitable for some kind of development so that you stayed away from the trees, you might have 13 acres, but there are no streets in the middle, there is no sewer or drainage, there's no power service, so that developing housing, regular market rate housing would be a little more expensive than usual, and if your goal is to build affordable housing, then you're starting kind of in a hole because you have to do all this extra work that you might not normally have to build. So our housing people did take a really careful look at it. Some of the other issues that they looked at had to deal with access to services and transportation. So it was not their priority site, but they did take it very seriously. So thanks for letting me address that. Now, so let's go to this woman here. I'm sorry, but I had put him in the queue. So you're next.
Okay, going back to the water drainage issue, when you had them look at this site, did they take into account the fact that up on the plateau where you have Greenbridge, when they build the rest of Greenbridge, it's all going to become hard surface. And so where's the water going to perk through? And the site has this tremendous amount of sand, which erodes very easily, and I would feel better if there had been someone looking at things comprehensively to see what is happening in different areas rather just right here. The fact it's going to change because of what's happening uphill. And so, and I think the concerns about Ham Creek and fulfilling the mission to restore the Duwamish needs to be taken into account. And like this other gentleman, the fact that issues regarding wetlands were kind of ignored and kind of not given a priority before makes us wonder.
I can understand that. I will let you know that it was in this very room some years ago after the Army Corps of Engineers reached a settlement with the city that I don't know how many scores of people, myself included, were here for a full day of training about jurisdictional waters, wetlands, and how it needed to be done. So a lot of people were trained then, and there is a standing committee that meets with the Army Corps of Engineers, and projects have to be reviewed by them as they go forward. And any development, whether it's expanding the firefighter facilities or building green jobs or a green environmental facility or a commercial property, will have to get permitting, and they'll have to be reviewed. There was a woman here, yes.
I was at your last meeting and you were talking about the city was going to decide whether there could be housing in some, was that the blue areas that they?
No, the blue areas are the areas with tree canopy that we're proposing be preserved. I think there should be some very small print that probably says so, but the blue areas are the areas to be saved. The housing is not currently in the proposal. As I just explained, it's expensive to do, and we already owe ourselves money.
And I think that we already have a lot of affordable housing and not very many tax dollars going back in, but it doesn't necessarily mean we need the commercial development, I think. But one last question, when we went in the other day into the woods in this green or this blue spot here, there's a permanent structure built by a gentleman that lives in there. It's called the Grotto. And we wonder what's going to happen with that. It's basically a water feature that's quite large and rivals anything in someone's backyard, like rockery. And we're just wondering, is that going to continue? Is he going to stay there? What's going to happen with that?
Very fair question. I do not have the magic answer to what happens with the Grotto, but it's certainly on everybody's radar, and it's going to have to get figured out. I don't know who is next, but so you already had a question. Let me try to get some others. Okay, Cass?
You say that the city recommends that the steep wooded areas be kept natural. I thought that was already a requirement because they're environmentally critical areas. So it sounds like the city's taking credit for something they couldn't do anything else with anyway.
Is that a comment or a question?
Well, is that correct? Are they buildable areas?
I can't answer that exactly. I am not a development expert.
Some of it is developable, yes.
Yeah, on the wooded areas, on the south side of the property, that's on the other side of, the right-of-way. You have, I think, about 2 acres of developable land that has, definitely has a value. Then on the other side of the street, kind of by the power lines going down the hill, there's a developable site that could be used and utilized too.
So the woods are developable?
Partials.
Not all.
Okay. In the interest, Peggy in the yellow with the green scarf, and then the lady in purple.
Great. So at the end of Mary's presentation, she asked, so how many people do you need to hear from? And one of my questions about the public involvement, it cited and it broke down of who they'd heard from by January 15th, that there were 2 responses for this, 6 people want to be kept informed, 3 people, and the majority expressed the desire to preserve all the property's parkland. But why wasn't it said that there were over, like in our case, we have 1,659 people who said that they don't want it to be stopped. So one of the questions that came up here is, what's happening to those comments? She referred to 109. We have 561 comments that we've been passing on. How many comments are you looking for? Like if we get 1 million people, do we get attention?
I think in the early reports there was a petition, but I'm not sure that it came to our department. I can't say what date it was. Daniel, can you speak up loudly and address that?
All of the comments that were given forward us through the petitions were included in the comment list that's online. You can look at that. We did a cutoff date when we published the report. We're still collecting comments now. So any of the comments that come from here or have been coming in the past weeks will be included on a new summary of all the comments. So the online petition, only some of those had email addresses and actually a comment. So out of the 659, I think we only got like 300 I actually email address this.
I said the women in purple.
My question statement is, I'm wondering when you're looking at the viability and feasibility of housing, are you looking at it in a traditional sense? We have a global crisis of global warming and a serious issue of our carbon emissions and needing to sequester more carbon and needing to look at solutions that aren't necessarily what have been done before. And there's places all over the world that are coming up with incredibly innovative solutions. I think in Denmark, they're building eco-villages where they have housing that is sustainable, that produces its own energy, wind, solar, water management. You know, there's gray water, different solutions that could be taken into account of. Are you guys trying to be innovative and to address these multiple issues, which could have huge economic gains and environmental responsibility? And then also thinking about, there are lawsuits and different things going on, new ecology rules coming out, being developed, that are starting to look at the science of global warming and how we need to be environmentally responsible. And it seems like we need to be ahead of the curve and not being, oh, now the rule's made, now we're gonna do something about it. If you're looking at a project, are you looking ahead and taking that into consideration and trying to be a leader in that and look for new innovative ways to address all of those problems, which would be responsible for our children, our environment, our area, I mean everything. Is what are you guys looking at that, or are you just looking at, oh, traditionally it's not feasible?
I don't think we have anybody here from the Office of Housing, and I'm not an expert on all of their different programs. Those are probably some new ideas for them. So I would encourage you to write your comments down. I think those are really valid ideas that ought to be encouraged. So please send the City Council, send us your comments, and we'll make sure they get into the record and you know, our goal now is to bring all the different kinds of ideas that we heard to the mayor's direct staff and get some ideas from them on possibly revising the recommendations. So do send us something. I guess we have time for 2 more questions, so I'll go to the lady in blue because I don't think we've heard from Arrowhead Gardens yet.
I just have a question. I kind of want to rephrase what she asked in this way. How many voices do you have to listen to before we are heard in number?
There isn't a magic number. We want to hear from everybody who cares about it. And so we're doing 2 things. First of all, we will be summarizing the comments in a report, but we also are keeping a list that has all of the substantive. If you write us 3 paragraphs, we're going to put, you know, am I right, Daniel? We're putting that all online, so the record's there. There is no magic number.
At what point does our voice have an impact? Because what you're telling us right now, we can just comment until, you know, the cows come home, and you're going to just put it out there for somebody else to read. At what point do our voices have an impact on what you're going to do?
Thank you.
It's ultimately the council that has to make a decision. As you have been, you can write to them. There will be other opportunities. I would just encourage you to keep commenting. We'll take it back to the electeds. They'll help come up with a plan to move forward. I mean, I think you've been heard tonight. I've got time for one more question. The lady in green hadn't asked a question.
This was kind of touched on earlier today. There's a large portion of our neighbors that don't seem to be represented. This was touched on earlier. There's a large portion of our neighbors that don't seem to be represented in this meeting. We have translators here that don't seem to be doing any work, and there's a lot of people in the neighborhood that don't speak English as their first language. And I'm wondering what we're doing to try to reach out to them so that they get a chance to come to meetings like this too, or to know about them.
Daniel, can you field that one?
We will be doing some additional outreach to neighborhoods and working with our translators to help us reach reach those communities. We didn't get it for this meeting here, but we will do some more additional outreach.
So we can expect more meetings where more people can attend that actually live in the neighborhood?
We will try to do some out working with people who know the people in the neighborhood of other languages and work with them to try to figure out how to reach them.
Daniel said that we would continue to do outreach. If you saw our public involvement plan, we did list a number of community groups. We have met with a couple already. We did talk with some great White Center staff and let them know that we could meet with different kinds of public events. We could attend a festival. We could do a business mixer with them. So we are here to reach out. And if your group wants to hear from us, talk with us, let us know, please. I think we're pretty much at the end of the meeting. If you have a question, we probably will be around a little bit and could chat with you. And do fill out a comment card. You can leave it in the back of the room in the manila envelopes. You can hand it to us. You can scan it in email or mail it to us directly. Thank you very much. Do you want to wrap up? Or? Okay.
Good job. Good job.